the difference between you and I as chefs is that I have to have a cookbook in front of me. You open the fridge and say, what are we going to eat? So I spent 6 months going through recipes. And then finally I said,
because you mentioned the your writing career and the books you've done and you're working on, can we talk a little bit about what was the process like this time? You mentioned the beautiful photos, and they are beautiful. You mentioned bringing it together, the cookbook idea. So from that moment to a finished copy, what did that process look like for you this time around?
Well, recipes are in my head. So I had to cook in my head. And so for 6 months, I started to think, I never wrote anything down. So then I would call friends and I say, what was your favorite meal I cooked? And then I would say, oh, okay, that's good. And then I would just test my friends and they would tell me what they liked the best. So I got all these recipes that were still in my head. And I somehow remember what I put in it. Now, let's face it, you follow a recipe. As my sister-in-law in Australia says to me, the difference between you and I as chefs is that I have to have a cookbook in front of me. You open the fridge and say, what are we going to eat? So I spent 6 months going through recipes. And then finally I said, what did my mother cook? The Greek traditional foods or the Greek desserts. And my sisters are very good at cooking desserts. So I called them and I said, send me some recipes that you do in Greek desserts that I may not have done. And so, and that was it. And then slowly I collected the foods and then I started to make them. And as somebody said, do these recipes work? I said, I don't know. They did for me. I don't know what your idea of taste is, but like everybody, you've got to taste as you go along to understand that you haven't put anything in excess, or that maybe a chicken wasn't as flavorful as the one before, because they vary in taste. And so, like when I make soups, which I do a lot, I will take a whole chicken, an organic chicken, and I will cook that for 2 hours in the pot, and then I take the chicken and I give that to a friend who loves chicken meat, and that's the base for my soup, and to that I add whatever it is I'm cooking.
So once again, the book is called Seducing Celebrities One Meal at a Time, and can you please let us know, where can we find more? Where can we find you? Website, social media? Where are the best places to find this book?
Well, I have the podcast, which I just finished, The Lost Treasures, which is on Spotify. That I'm very pleased with because it was because in many ways I love being an archaeologist in some way, and that's why I took a lot of the journeys I did. So it really is about the Trojan horde, the Mycenaean horde, and where the Trojan War started. And the third one really is about Ulysses coming home. And so I explored that last year. So for the last 2 years, I wrote this 4-segment podcast. And I'm now beginning to write another one.
Well, we will check out the podcast for sure. And we're going to be looking for the book everywhere books are found. We'll see you at Barnes & Noble's, at the Grove. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you and talk to you about family and food and delicious things. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.